Orlando, Florida. You're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, and myself, Anthony, and today we have a very, very special guest joining us. He's not only an NBA experienced guy, but he has worked with the likes of AG, Voech, Austin Rivers, Wendell Carter Jr., just to name a few. NBA player development coach, Iren the Cheat Code Rainey. What is up, man?
How's it going, fellas?
Good. And I'm so excited to have you on this episode so we can kind of pick your brain. But before we get into it, this summer is a little different than last summer, right? We can all agree on that. How happy are you to be able to at least, I don't want to say fully normal, but to at least get back into the gym and still be, still be able to do what you are so passionate about doing?
Yeah, I'm super grateful, super appreciative. Obviously, a lot of times we take things for granted. So we missed out on a lot of opportunities to get in the gym, a few months ago due to the pandemic. And just to be in the gym now with the guys, building, connecting, and really helping them, take it up a few notches is incredible. So I'm excited about, what the future holds as we move forward. And I'm ready to get this pandemic over.
Oh, yeah. Completely. Al and I, we went to the NBA draft party at the Amway, and we got hit with it. We got hit with it really hard.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where you really, that's out there because it's affecting a lot of people. But then when you personally, we went almost a year and a half without really getting hit by it, and then out of nowhere we got hit, and we're like, oh, okay, all right. We see on the news, we hear on the radio, can't do this, can't do that. But now it's it's more real once you're impacted by it.
Yeah,
so
sure.
definitely glad that we're at least slowly getting back to normal. Now, Iren, the name, the cheat code, the nickname, the cheat code, where does that come from? Who gave it to you? And for those that aren't familiar with you, who is the cheat code?
You know what? That's a great question. I've been doing this, training, skill development thing for about 10 years now. I personally, play at the professional level at an early age. At the age of 14 years old in Europe. But honestly, the name, the cheat code was kind of new. Aaron Gordon actually gave me that name after working with him, for a few sessions. He and I really, developed a great friendship, a great relationship on and off the court. And he understands that my philosophy and my methods are far beyond just basketball. It's all about the complete player, the complete individual. And when we talk about the cheat code, he talked about how I kind of, empower people, not with just the cheat code on basketball, but also the cheat code on the life game, because there's a direct correlation between the game of basketball and the life game. And so that's kind of where that name was derived from through Aaron Gordon.
And it's great that you say that because, I've never played in the professional level, but I played a lot of high school basketball, a lot of AU basketball, and I played at a really young age. And they've always said the things that you can take from basketball, you can incorporate, in your day-to-day real life, whether it's working hard, whether it's, facing adversity, whatever the case may be. So I can kind of see where the cheat code and how that impacts you off the court, and they're able to kind of see in that light. One of the things I like the most about you, Iren, is that you don't just, help out professional basketball players and not just NBA players. And you don't market that either. If you go onto your social media, it's not just, NBA players and that's it. You're really in there working with the youth. It's not just boys or men. You're working out females and girls as well. So the fact that you do the complete package is really something that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I sincerely appreciate that. I appreciate you recognizing that, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely shows your love for the game, your passion for the game. So again, it's easy to just say, hey, I made it to a level where I can just work with NBA players, and that's going to be my niche now. But to go all the way back down to middle school kids and high school kids, it takes a lot. It shows, again, that it's more than just basketball. They're trying to teach these people, not only the professionals, but also those that are trying to get to the pro level.
Yep. Absolutely.
And also, just to add, it takes patience also. We had Coach Clifford that, he's no longer with the team. They decided to part ways. But a lot of it had to do with he didn't want to start over. He didn't want to teach, young players how to, play the game of basketball. He wanted to really just focus on the veterans. So I can see where, someone that, because you have to adjust the way that not only you communicate, but how you come across and the things that you teach the players from an NBA player to, a ninth grader.
Right. You're right. You're right. I feel like the life game is all about adjustments. It's about change. And unfortunately, so many of us just get stuck and don't embrace change. And a lot of us end up selling ourselves short and staying stagnant because of that. And, I'm a people person, first and foremost. Basketball is secondary. I got a divine love for the human race. I've got a divine love for people. And honestly, I just utilize the conduit of basketball to have the biggest impact that I could possibly have on a positive note. And like I said, I just utilize basketball to be able to do that and, connect. So.
That's awesome. Now, Iren, let me ask you about your basketball history. So now you mentioned earlier you played internationally a little bit, but for those listening or watching on YouTube, give us a little rundown of your career. Kind of walk us through high school, college, all that, all that experience.
My career is pretty unique. What a lot of people don't know is I actually moved to England, overseas in the UK when I was 8 years old. I lived in the UK from the age of 8 to 16. So I ended up, excelling early. Unfortunately, when we initially moved to the UK, my father ended up dying like the first year and a half. So it was one of those things where I basically embraced basketball more than I had ever embraced basketball before, because that's where I got my identity. That's where I got the love and the connection. And luckily I excelled. So I ended up playing on the European market. Early on, I also played on the American military bases. And I ended up going to Lakenheath High School for my ninth grade year and ended up getting all Europe honors. I was the youngest player to get it since Shaquille O'Neal, because Shaquille O'Neal was in that same league.
Right.
Experiencing that. And from there, I ended up going to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Oak Hill Academy. But
how can you not be?
Yeah. What happened was I ended up doing a camp, 5-star basketball camp, under the legendary Howard Garfinkel in Pittsburgh. And I received most outstanding player at the camp, along with LeBron James and Melvin Scott, a Baltimore guy who I'm not sure if you all remember Melvin. He played at UNC when Raymond Felton was there. So from Oak Hill, I ended up going to another public high school in Pennsylvania. Didn't really have a lot of guidance there, and kind of was able to get away with some things and kind of doing what I wanted to do as an athlete, which is kind of a gift and a curse, unfortunately. Many of us athletes go through that. And went to probably 3 or 4 different colleges. And I ended my career at a Division II school in HBCU, Cheney State, which is right outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And so my last year of college, unfortunately, I went through a super significant period of adversity where it kind of cost me my basketball playing career. And, during that time, it gave me a chance to introspect and get over a lot of insecurities, a lot of fears. And I started to recognize that I really got my identity through playing the game of basketball. And at one point, I thought that I was playing the game out of love, but a lot of times I was playing the game out of fear because, obviously I didn't have an identity outside of basketball, and to lose or to not be good would be to fail, so to speak. And I think a lot of athletes have that same story without even knowing. And, after that period of adversity, basically, I worked out with a few NBA teams, and it didn't work out as far as me making it. And at that point, that's kind of where I hung my basketball shoes up and realized my passion was people and really teaching the game, and not just teaching the game of basketball, but teaching the life game, connecting with people psychologically, empowering their mindset, their belief system, their overall internal dialogue, so that they were able to live a happier life and achieve external results. And so that's kind of what my brand is based upon, my philosophy, which is really transforming lives through enhancing the internal battle to achieve external results. So it's pretty different, man. It's unique.
It's definitely a unique route. And you would say that, kind of missing out on the opportunities? What kind of transition? Because normally what I've seen a lot of is that people keep trying to make it professionally. Like they try any way that they can. And it seems like you really acknowledge early on that maybe this isn't the path for me. And maybe I should transition into something different in terms of, helping people. Now, when it comes to training players, is that something that you recognize early on, or, did it take you a little while to kind of see maybe that would be the new path for you?
What do you mean as far as recognizing? Yeah.
So the minute that you hung up the shoes and you said, that's it, my playing career is done. At what moment did you say, man, maybe I can start teaching players or help them on their skill? Like how long was that gap to where you figured out maybe this could be my path?
You know what? That's a great question. It actually happened almost immediately. The good thing about, me is I've always been a leader. I've always been the guy on the team that was, putting myself through workouts. I've always studied the game. I've always had an insatiable desire and an indomitable will to be great at whatever it is that I was doing. And, I was the guy even in college that, would go out and hang out and literally wake up. I would get in at maybe 2, 3 in the morning and wake up at 5 and get in the gym and still, get my workout on. I just was that passionate about it. And I took that same passion once again and just, figured out how to translate it into helping other people. So that transformation actually happened, or that change happened almost immediately after I hung the shoes up, because it was something that I was actually already doing as I was pursuing a professional career.
It kind of even feels like it was almost meant to be. Like just
right, exactly.
If you knew exactly that's what you were gonna do the minute after you retire, it kind of looks like everything aligned that way. That kind of makes it, once in a lifetime almost. It's awesome.
It is. Yep. Thank you.
So I wanted to bring it back to the beginning. So when it comes to basketball, right? So again, obviously I can tell, just speaking with you very shortly here, that you have a passion for the game. Where did that love for the game come from?
So I think just early on, I mean, the game was introduced to me early on. I come from a family of athletes. My dad actually was my coach at an early age, and it was one of those things that just came natural to me. And then the things that I enjoyed most, about the game was the teamwork. I'm an only child, right? So being able to have that camaraderie, teammates, family, going to practices, having that structure, and then being able to compete in games against other people that have been practicing, and being able to actually have some success early on, and then having people tell that they told me I was actually good early on. So that's kind of where my passion came from, and then I just basically took it and ran with it. And I'm here today, still doing what I love, which is teaching the game. I'm always in the gym, so I'm extremely grateful for sure.
And so one of the questions I've always wanted to know is that when it comes to training professional athletes, they're in the off season, they definitely have way more time where we see them training with, skills coach, and we see them, be able to decide what their schedule looks like. Not so much in the season. When it comes to the off season now being done and then they start playing, how much do you still pay attention to the players that you've trained to maybe help them, after that season to the following off season? Or do you still stay in contact with them during the season and help make adjustments? How much are you, I guess, in contact with those players throughout the season, when it's no longer that one-on-one time that you have with them, during their free time in the off season?
Yep. That's a great question. I think that's what makes myself, as well as some of the other skills coaches out there, professionals as well, is how much attention to detail that we're focused on when the players aren't just with us, but obviously when they're in season too. I'm always studying my guys. I'm always studying, what makes them tick. I study their body language. I'm watching their attitude when they get called out of a game. I'm watching their sense of urgency when they're in the game. I'm watching, things like how they're breathing, not just on the free throw line, but even when they're making moves and just running up and down the floor. And I'm just watching to see if they're in the flow. because that's all my training is about helping athletes get into their flow state and understanding how to sustain that level. So I'm always watching the guys that I train. I also watch guys that I feel like I'll probably end up training later on down the line. And I'm not in contact with everybody, but for the most part, the guys that are with me the most, I'm in contact with them quite a bit. I text them after games. Sometimes I text them during games, knowing that they'll see it after the game. Aaron Gordon and I, would meet every now and again at the coffee shop, before games, because I actually live right downtown Orlando. And before he got traded, he had a place, downtown Orlando. And so we would meet there every now and then and, just talk and just connect in preparation for him to be able to perform, the best version of himself. So to answer your question, I'm always in contact with my guys for the most part, and I'm always studying their craft, and I'm always enhancing my craft by finding creative ways to be better. And I think a lot of that is just paying attention to detail.
That's impressive. So again, the work doesn't end when you're done training them and you leave the gym. That continues into the season. And again, taking notes and continuing to find things so they can improve. Because again, once you're on the court, you might not be realizing what you're doing wrong. So that's, again, a lot of work on you.
Yeah, it is. It's not work when you're having fun doing it, though, man.
That's true.
I'm passionate. So
that's true.
It's something I love, and I'm definitely extremely grateful once again.
And just to add, because who else is looking at that type of stuff? You're saying that you're watching the way that they're breathing on the free throw line, or seeing what their motor is like. If they don't have somebody like you really watching that, to me that just sounds like an added ammunition to any player. Because if you're sending him a text message like in the middle of the game, after the game, having the conversations before the game, it sounds like they're really honing in and focusing on the little things. You had mentioned earlier that you don't really focus so much on working out hard, but really trying to get the players to find their flow in the game. Exactly. How many people really have that mindset? Because people think that working hard will get you results, and maybe in certain fields it does, and maybe in the game it does. But from what it sounds like, it seems like you kind of push more of having the player kind of work smarter in a sense.
Absolutely. It's all about working smart. People have this artificial thing about what it takes to be successful, and everybody's like, work hard. Yeah. Well, most of us, when we're working hard, we're not in a state of happiness and blissfulness. In order to get an athlete or a person to live or perform or operate as the best version of themselves, it's all about being able to get them in a state to where they want to do something. And I think when you're working super hard, you're working backwards. And I don't feel like you're able to sustain that. So once again, it's all about, working smart and helping my players understand how to fully engage and fully embrace every moment, understanding how to breathe and not identify with the things that they don't want, and identify with the things that they do want. And that comes through, just through practicing that. That right there is a skill. Just like shooting a basketball is a skill, a lot of, understanding how to get into that state is a skill as well. And I think that's where the people that are exceptional separate themselves from the people that are just good, because they've mastered that.
Now, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to NBA players, so obviously you're in Orlando primarily, so Magic players kind of go towards you because they're local. How about the rest of NBA guys that you've trained? It's a word of mouth thing that they find you? Are you kind of actively, you have a team that's recruiting players? How does that work?
That's a great question. The majority of my guys that I have trained, I wasn't training them when they were with the Magic. I actually trained quite a few guys that weren't playing with the Magic, which is really weird because I live here in Orlando. For example, I started training Tobias Harris after he got traded, from the Magic. Even though he lived here before, I got him later. Nikola Vucevic obviously played with the Magic. Aaron Gordon, I got him, but Etuan Moore is one of my clients. He played with the Magic, but when he played with the Magic, I didn't train him. And I have him now. I've had him, ever since he left the Magic. Courtney Lee, I had him after he left the Magic. So it's quite Austin Rivers, obviously, never played with the Magic. So a lot of it's just word of mouth. And it all started through Courtney Lee and Austin Rivers. They were my first two clients mainly because we started out playing open gym together, and just from there, guys were asking who's the guy in Orlando to go to, and those guys pointed everybody in my direction, and it's just been up and up on the up and up from there.
Yeah, I remember I read an article that around that same time you were also working on Darius Washington. Is that right?
Yep, that's my guy.
That dude used to give me the business in high school.
Oh, high school?
Business in high school. My goodness.
Yeah, he was an incredible talent, man.
Yeah.
Still talent.
Yeah, we stayed away from the Edgewaters and the Dr. Phillips. Chris Warren was another one that gave me the business.
Chris is special. He's probably the toughest guard that I've ever had to go against in Florida, for sure. He's special.
And
I feel like if he never gotten hurt, he'd definitely be a solidified NBA guy, for sure.
Yeah, because he even in Ole Miss, he did work there too.
Right, he did.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the TBT in a little bit, because that's really the topic that I was looking forward to talking to you about. But before we do that, when it comes to, because we talked a little bit earlier about your approach and how your approach with NBA players will be different than the approach with younger players. Right. How would your approach be different for a player like Mario Hezonja that you also help build his skill and development? Is your approach different with a player that plays professionally in Europe than it would be in the NBA?
Yeah, so what I try to do, honestly, is match players with their own unique skill set and own unique level of greatness, right? I'm not just making up stuff to do. It's figuring out what players do well and helping them master that and helping them embrace that. Obviously, the European game is a lot different than the NBA game. For example, in the NBA, you can't just stand in the lane, right? In the NBA, there's a defensive 3 seconds, but overseas, you can just, stand in the lane. So the things that we work on for Mario Hezonja, like, because I worked with him when he was still in the NBA too, a lot of his skill stuff is the same, but then his decision-making may be a little bit different because the European game is different than the NBA. So it's just figuring out what players do well, helping them understand how to be efficient and how to be effective within their unique skill set with the least amount of effort. I don't try to, reinvent the wheel and, do the next cool thing. I think a lot of people do that for Instagram, but I haven't gotten to that point. I don't think I ever will. Just about helping players, understand how to be the best version of themselves within their own unique skill set and own unique level of greatness.
Yeah. Now, earlier you mentioned that you to some of your players, you watch your tapes and you're looking at the details. Is it challenging to where a player like Mario Hezonja, it's not like it's popping up on ESPN? You have to find alternate ways of watching the games. Yeah. Do you find that aspect of being able to keep an eye on your players a little more challenging?
Yep, that part does become challenging when guys go play in Europe or Asia or Africa, wherever they may be. It does get pretty strenuous trying to find games or watch games. The games come on at different times, obviously. A lot of times they're playing and we're sleeping over here. So
that's right.
It's just one of those things where the communication line has to be open with the player. Mario Hezonja is a friend of mine. We talk via Instagram or WhatsApp. So that's kind of how we communicate, during the season.
Yeah, and that video that you posted of him asking if it was a travel, it was definitely a travel. The first step was a travel.
Don't tell him that.
All righty, so I wanted to transition here quickly to a current Magic player, and that is Wendell Carter Jr. So Wendell gets traded to Orlando here in March. The fan base is excited. So again, it's a different center. Obviously, a lot of love for Voech. It hurt, honestly, to see him leave as Magic fans. But then again, we now have a young center with tons of potential and a very important season ahead for him. It's a contract year for him. And I know he's been training with you this offseason. So give us some insight into what you've been working with Wendell and what do you think we can expect as Magic fans from him next season?
Great question. First of all, Wendell Carter is an incredible soul. He's an incredible human being. I think the Magic, got a steal when they got Wendell Carter. He actually lives in my building, which is weird. He, moved in. I'm like, oh man, Wendell Carter, and we both have, mutual friends, and that's how he ultimately ended up coming to work out with me. The one thing I can say about him is his upside is limitless. I think he's extremely passionate about being great within the game of basketball. I think he's had some setbacks with injuries and not necessarily evolving into what people thought he would early on. But the great thing about him is obviously he's still young, right? So here is just being the right fit, being the right player for what the Magic system needs, and I think he's willing to come in and embrace that. I actually had a coffee meeting with Matt Lloyd, probably 3 months ago, maybe, I'm not sure, before the draft and all that. And he really liked Wendell Carter, but one of the things that he and I talked about, because obviously he wanted to know that what I was doing with him, but it's figuring out for Wendell how to pick his spots and take advantage of opportunities when they're there, and not just be a guy that's going to fit in, because he does have some other things that he brings to the table, and the Magic will need him to embrace that and be sure enough and be confident enough and comfortable enough to do what he can do, and not just be a rim running energy guy, which he's great at that. He's embraced being an energy guy. He's embraced being a rim runner and 50-50 ball guy and getting every rebound. But I want to see him be a little more poised and take advantage and be aware enough to where he recognizes when he has opportunities on the floor. And I think that will make the Magic a much better team. And I think they'll have a legitimate chance to not just achieve, but also exceed expectations from people.
Yeah, Wendell Carter's a bad man. Like,
he is, man.
When he was a player that really didn't pay too much attention to, obviously, because he didn't play for the Magic, played in Chicago. Right. But the minute that he got on the court for us, it's like it's impossible not to miss him. I think that he plays way bigger than what his size is. He plays very physical, which is really different than what we were used to with Voech. Right. So the fact that we had that presence, we're definitely really excited about him. Now, let me ask you, what would be one area in his game that you think will surprise a lot of people this season?
You know what? I'm gonna step out on a limb here just because I believe in him 150%. But his ability to make open shots. He has a great looking shot. I think he can establish himself as a capable open shot maker. And I think once he does that, it'll allow him to evolve and allow the Magic organization to evolve through having him be a big that can step out and, be a capable shot maker. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people if he goes out there and he embraces it, from the beginning of the season when they start practicing and, doing their open gym and stuff. And, him just immersing himself in being a player that has the ability to do that. I think that's going to definitely be a big piece.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that too. I think that he matches so well with the young core that we have now. Absolutely. and really think that it's his for the taking. And right. I think he definitely has the opportunity for it. Now, you mentioned earlier that you sat down and had a little coffee meeting with Matt Lloyd. Is that normal practice in your world where the front office wants to know exactly what you're working with the players? Because obviously you're the advocate for the player themselves, right? Your job is to make the players better. Right. But is that something that happens common where the front office wants to know, like the Hawks organization want to know what you're working with John Collins?
Yeah, absolutely. I never knew Matt Lloyd before, 3 months ago. I know the Magic were heavily looking at Jonathan Kuminga, during pre-draft, obviously. And I did most of Jonathan Kuminga's pre-draft stuff. And I know that was probably one of the main reasons that the Magic had probably heard about me is because of, the Kuminga situation. But, I think I was able to develop a relationship because of the Kuminga situation. But to be honest with you, I haven't really had a lot of relationships with the front office people of organizations. It's funny you mentioned the Hawks because the Magic and the Hawks are probably the main two that I've had relationships with the front office. But outside of that, it's mostly agents, sometimes assistant coaches, sometimes player development within organizations. Those are the people that I get a chance to build with and connect with the most. But unfortunately, I was able to connect with the front office here. Obviously, I live here. I'm gonna be working with quite a few of their players, and I feel like the front office here they trust me. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, again, being local and being here in Orlando, it's definitely an advantage for you to train these
Absolutely.
players and for them to have access to you so easily here in downtown Orlando.
Right.
I wanted to bring it back quickly to Wendell Carter. I had a question to ask you, and it's mostly with his range. So I know you said one thing that he can definitely do at the NBA level, especially hopefully next season, is make shots, open shots. Do you think his range can extend to the three-point range the same way that Voech kind of developed over the years into one of the best shooters, big man out there for three-point range? Do you see that in Wendell's game?
Absolutely. I think he and Voech are similar. I think Voech was always a capable three-point maker. But when he came to us, I'm not sure if you know, but right before he became an NBA All-Star, we worked out probably 5-6 days a week. And the main thing that we were able to work on is just, once again, enhancing his mental state, helping him immerse himself in his unique level of greatness, helping him understand how capable he was to be a consistent shot maker, and helping him understand how to embrace, his unique skill set and abilities. I think Wendell and Voech, once again, are very similar. They're nice guys. They want to win, but they're not necessarily the alpha. Where they're speaking out or they're doing things outside of what people expect. Voech came in and, I challenged him quite a bit. Before every workout, during every workout, after every workout, we would assess and figure out where he was. And that's kind of what we're doing with Wendell as well. And I'm getting a chance to have Wendell Carter at an early age, which is different because Voech was a little bit older and he had already been in the league for quite some time. So it's hard to make that transition mentally. But Voech was able to do it. He became an NBA All-Star. He averaged 20 and 10. And I think Wendell Carter has the ability to do that and more within the organization, especially with what they have around him. I think they'll be an exciting team to watch.
You're making all Magic fans smile for sure after you're saying those things.
Absolutely, I'm glad.
It's crazy because even when we got Voech early on, straight from Philly, and then Dwight Howard trade, he always had like a really nice touch. Like you knew that the shooting capabilities were there.
Yep.
It just never really extended to the 3-point line. And I remember reading in an article during the offseason that he was really going to work on extending his shot to the 3-point line. I remember like thinking to myself, no, don't do that. What are you doing? You're a center. You're not supposed to do that. Grant, this is years ago. It's just crazy how we've transitioned to today's NBA game, and how Voech, he really mastered that.
Oh yeah, he did, man.
Really mastered it.
Yep.
And becoming, in my opinion, top 3 center in the NBA, and I'll fight on that hill with anybody.
Oh, for sure. I'm right with you on that. I'm right with you. He just didn't have the same marketing behind him. He's not really on social media. You don't really see him post a lot. I mean, that has a lot to do with building your fan base and having people believe in you. Obviously, we're in that era now where social media, is it. That visual aesthetic is what captures people's attention. So with him not doing that and just going out there and playing basketball, unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, and it hasn't been enough. But he's super skilled, highly intelligent player. Obviously, he's European, so super intelligent. Shoots, he shoots the lights out, when he's open. He's a consistent open shot maker. And I think, once again, Wendell has the ability to do those things as well.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And if we see that effectively, I'm gonna hit you up and be like, yo, we did it. We did it. No, you get all the credit. Now let me ask you. So the Florida TNT, if you don't know, Iren was the head coach for the Florida TNT in the basketball tournament, where it's a tournament that, the winner of this tournament is winner takes all $1 million. And you guys got really, really far into this tournament. It's my understanding that you guys kind of were like a late submission and really didn't have a whole lot of time to really get the team together. It was what was it, the very first game that you actually had all the players together on the court at one time. What was that experience like? One, having a team just filled with a whole bunch of Central Florida legends,
Right.
and then two, really, coaching that group with such a short notice and really, leaving a mark on that tournament.
Yeah. The experience, to say the least, was absolutely incredible. I'm extremely grateful to have been able to coach that unique level of players, a unique group. We're looking forward to getting back in it next year and going out there, not just getting in it, but winning it. It's even hard to talk about right now because we were right there. That's the thing for the the Florida TNT. You all are right there, right? So no, but it was. The tournament is it's super intense. It's super competitive. It's super physical. The toughest part of the tournament, like you said, was getting a group of guys together consistently to gel and believe in our system, believe in the process, and everybody being on one accord to achieve the same goal. And unfortunately, we didn't we ended up gelling, but we didn't have everybody together at one time. And there were a couple of players who were supposed to actually play with our team that ended up not playing for whatever reason. I think that kind of not necessarily hindered us, but I think those other players would have added some more value. It just gave us a different look, which would have made it a little bit more difficult for other teams to beat us. But the experience, to say the least, was absolutely incredible. And, I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I'm extremely grateful and looking forward to getting back in it next year.
So this is something that you're fully committed to. You're going to be a part of it in 2022, and that's something that you see yourself continuing to do year after year.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, let me ask you: was this like the highest stint of you being a head coach in the highest level? Would you say that in terms of coaching a whole entire team?
I would say because you're coaching former pros. I shouldn't say former pros. Everybody on the team, I think, right now is playing professionally. But I coach former NBA guys, right? And you're coaching guys that are making a lot of money overseas right now, and that's totally different when you're coaching those guys on ESPN against other pros, against other guys that are getting ready to be on NBA rosters. So I would say that would be the highlight of my coaching career. Which I'm, extremely grateful for.
Which leads me to my next question. Do you have aspirations to kind of pursue that on an NBA level? Is that something that you would be open to? Because I know that you have, your program that you have right now with the players individually, with the youth. But do you have aspirations to coach at an NBA level in the league?
That's a great question. I honestly, my focus is my brand right now. I feel like we have a lot of access. I feel like there's not really a lot of red tape. I'm able to, have an impact on a multitude of players from the youth all the way up throughout the NBA. I can travel during the NBA season and connect with multiple players like I do. If the opportunity did arise, I would definitely look into it and embrace it and, see if we could make it fit. But honestly, my biggest desire is to speak globally. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to inspire people and empower people to want more, to do more, and develop the right mindset and the right habits to be more and evolve into their full potential. Obviously, right now, as I stated, I utilize the conduit of basketball to reach the masses of people. But I have an insatiable desire to really impact the world in a multitude of ways. And I think, utilizing my platform now is helping me, get my story out there and really show people how to go from one level to the next by just having a major paradigm shift and, being committed being intentional, living life intentionally, living life deliberately, and ultimately just enhancing, their story. And so, to answer your question, I would probably, look into a coaching position, but everything would have to, be aligned with what I believe in. And I would have to be allowed to kind of, do what I love.
Yeah, and one of the things that also stood out to me, especially with your social media, when you say that you want to be a motivational speaker, is how serious you take your job. And great, people can say that they take it serious. They can post all the pictures and videos that they want, whatever case may be. But you've kind of say the same message repeatedly, which is, you're in there every day as if your life is on the line in terms of helping and developing your players. What exactly does that mean to you in your words when you say that, as if your life is on the line? How do you view that with the players that you're working with?
I think that most of us are walking around as if we have 1,000 years to live, but unfortunately, that's very unrealistic. And I think until something happens to us, a lot of times we're not people that embrace every moment. And what I try to bestow onto my players is that same philosophy. Is doing everything with intent, right? Doing everything with purpose, and doing everything with a sense of gratitude. Because a lot of times, we don't realize that things can be taken away. And if you go out there and you play the game and you're entitled, or you're not fully engaged in the moment, or you don't take advantage of opportunities, a lot of times we end up selling ourselves short and not operating or not performing as the best version of ourselves. And so for me, every moment matters. Every day matters. What I do matters. So I'm always giving, 150% to the players that I work with, to the parents that are trusting me with their kids, and to the agents that are sending the players to me to say, hey, we want you to help this guy become a better version of himself, so he can make more money and support his family, etc. So, it's just one of those things that, I believe in. It's one of those things that, I pride myself on. I really pride myself on, living fully in the moment and doing everything with a different standard of excellence.
That's again, I mean, that's impressive the way you put it. I can definitely see where that career of a inspirational speaker comes from, because again, the way you explained it, it makes a ton of sense and inspired me for sure. Just hearing you say it. So that's amazing work that you're doing, and the vision that you have. Again, I can't wait to follow the journey along and see where it leads to.
Thank you. I sincerely appreciate it.
Of course. Now, we always like to play a game with our guests here when we wrap up the show. We call it Overtime. And pretty much it's a quick questions we're going to ask you. We just want rapid fire with you. Okay. So I'm going to start with the first one, and Anthony will continue with the rest. First one, most important position in basketball?
Point guard.
I kind of had a feeling you were going to say, just not only because that's like your position that you play, but also because you have a program that allows people to be elite point guard positions. Just throwing that in there for you. All right, next one. Who is your favorite active NBA player to watch?
Oh man, that's tough.
A tough one. And I'm gonna
watch.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add a wrench in there. You can't say any of the players that you coach currently.
Favorite active NBA player to watch? I would have to say between KD and Luka.
Can't go wrong there.
Right.
Can't go wrong.
And that's completely different spectrums.
Right.
Completely different spectrum.
Yeah.
Next one here. What current NBA player would you compare your game to?
Current NBA player, Chris Paul.
Listen, I did some research, man. I saw some highlights. In the Ace League. I can see it. All right. This next one is, should the NBA play-in tournament remain, or should the league go back to 8 teams making the playoffs in each conference? I want to elaborate on this one a little bit.
Yeah,
the NBA. Yeah, the NBA has really done a lot of experimenting, where they make a little adjustments to kind of either make the game different, fun to watch, whatever case may be. So the play-in tournament previously the playoffs was just 1 through 8 from East, 1 through 8 from West, and that's it. But then they had the play-in tournament where now the the 9th and the 10th seed will be in a play-in tournament with the 7th and 8th, and then it just made a little more playoff contention. But then they also started doing other things, like for example, they have the challenge where they're now able to challenge plays. In the NBA Summer League, they had the double overtime, whereas sudden death. What would you prefer? Would you prefer that they didn't touch the game at all and keep it the way that it is, or are you okay with the innovations?
I like the old way, man. I honestly like the old way. I don't feel like we should make it complicated, but I get it. I do understand it, but the old way is what I would probably lean toward.
Yeah, don't touch the game. Leave it the way
Right.
that it is. One of the main ones that I heard, and I think it was LeBron that was the one pushing it, or maybe it was Mark Cuban, and taking away East and West and just make it just the whole entire conference, everyone in the same conference. Don't touch the game. Leave it the way that it is.
Leave it the way it is, man.
Last one here quickly. So talking about the NBA implementing things and playing with things, the All-Star game, they've implemented now in the fourth quarter, the elim ending, which happens in the basketball tournament. And I mean, for one, I love it. It's such a as a fan watching it, it gets the adrenaline is high. Players are competitive to a level that you normally don't see at the NBA level when you know you have 2 minutes left. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, do you think the NBA should find a way to incorporate that ending, the elim ending, into games some more?
I love that idea. Not like it, I love it. And the reason why is because it makes it a lot more competitive. It makes it a lot more intense. I feel like guys are getting after it a lot more. And you kind of see who's who. You have to be tough mentally in those moments. So I do like the elim ending idea for the NBA.
Don't touch the game. Leave it the way that is. All right, Iren, this is my last question for you before we wrap it up. For the kids that's out there and they're trying to get better every day and they want to take basketball serious, whether it's for education, to get a scholarship, whether it's just to get their skills better in basketball or anything, what would be your one advice to the kids? And the reason why I bring this up is that there's a lot of I want to say players that people have said that aren't good for young kids to watch. An example would be for, Steph Curry. People say Steph Curry isn't great for kids to watch because they just go out there, see Steph Curry, and then just start shooting a bunch of threes, right? What would be your advice, for kids that want to take basketball serious?
For kids that want to take basketball serious, you know what? My one piece of advice would probably be to figure it out who it is they want to be as a player, and to go after it as if their life depends on it, by doing the small things daily, like watching certain players and mimicking certain movements, studying what players do off the court, figure out where players come from and how they got to the level that they were able to get to. This new training thing, man, is a fad. Like, everybody's got a trainer. And what you see is a lot of kids just going out there and they're dribbling through 20 cones and they're doing all these moves that they'll never, ever, ever do in a game, right? So basically, my piece of advice would be to figure out how to do the easy things better than everybody else.
I like it.
You're a professional.
Yeah, I like it. Nah, man, it was definitely a pleasure to have you on, man. I feel like we've learned so much from you. For those that want to keep and continue to follow your story and follow what you do on a day-to-day basis with the youth, with the NBA players, where is it that they can find you? And for those that are listening that have kids and that want to send their kids to you to learn more from a professional, where can they find you?
They can follow me on IG. My Instagram is my first name and last name, Iren, Iren. Last name Rainey, Rainey. They can also go to my website, which is irenraineybasketball.com, or they can call our number, which is 407-408-2939 if they like any other information on camps, clinics, monthly training sessions. We do it all. It's a one-stop shop. So I sincerely appreciate you all having me, and definitely looking forward to connecting in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. Check this man out. Iren the Cheat Code Rainey. Until next week.
Thank you for listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Magic fans. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the OZone Pod. And remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.